Welcome to the Joy Revival podcast, where faith, neuroscience, and creativity meet. Here, you will find encouragement for your journey, hope for healing, and inspiration to create in freedom. Joy is a sign of a heart that is free, and in Jesus, joy is your inheritance. Hello there. Welcome back to the Joy Revival podcast. My name is Allie Brown, and I am the creator and coach for the Joy Revival. I am so excited to be with you today and to share with you another angle that I was thinking about when learning more about attachment styles. I just recently was a part of an online summit that was put on by Jeff Holzclaw. He is a theologian and he's really gotten into neuroscience. Of course, I am really into neuroscience right now and theology. I think that it's very important to know how your brain functions. We were given a brain, and the more we know what goes on in our brain, the better we can navigate this life. We can navigate difficult situations, difficult relationships. And so attachment styles is something that I taught about in my Attunement Workshop that I did a long time ago. If you didn't know I did that workshop, I will put a link so that you can find that workshop. I do not offer the Joyful Journey course right now, but it is a part of the Joy Revival program, so it's included. But I talked about attachment styles, and there's 4. The ideal attachment style is secure attachment. And I like the way that Jeff puts it, where it's the perfect balance of intimacy and independence. And many of the doctors, the therapists and the counselors and neuroscientists on his summit, and I listened to a lot of people talk about intimacy and independence. And the intimacy, a lot of them defined as nearness, being seen and understood, having someone empathize with you, having that attunement, having someone to attune with you. So intimacy is where you just feel like you're known and you're being known. Then there's this element of independence. And it's not independence in the way of thinking that you can do everything by yourself and you don't need anybody. It's actually more like interdependence, where you have an autonomy, you feel like you can be who you fully are in the presence of someone, that you aren't influenced by someone else's feelings or not enmeshed in any sort of way. There's so much that I can go into that. But a secure attachment has this really great balance of both intimacy and independence. When either of those two elements are kind of lopsided, you start getting into unhealthy attachment styles. One of those attachment styles is anxious attachment, and that is where the intimacy part is way higher than the independence part. And then you have the avoidant attachment, where the independence part is way lopsided and heavier on the scales than the intimacy part. Then you have the attachment style, which is called disorganized, and that's kind of where either one of those elements can be at one point lopsided. The intimacy part can get a little bit too much, or the independence part, they flip-flop. And what you see a lot with these children who have disorganized attachment, a lot of times they have no idea what they need, what they want, and they will just have fits of rage. It's really sad. So the way that you have been nurtured growing up, the way that you have related to people, that all influences your attachment. And your attachment style, I just had this light bulb. I believe it does influence your art and your creativity. And I want to tell you why. I want to share with you 5 ways that your attachment style could be influencing your art and your creativity. Before I go into these 5 ways, I want to share what I learned from Dr. Dan Siegel. He has a book, I believe, called The Power of Showing Up. And this is, I wish I had this book when I had my children, because I would have done things so much differently had I known now what I know. A lot of us have said that as parents, but now I know, and I can even now show up in a different way for my adult children. An example would be my son. He oftentimes will FaceTime me, and oftentimes it's at a really inconvenient time where I'm doing something, he wants to connect with me. He is taking the time out to FaceTime message me. And so I am looking at the screen. I am connecting with him through the screen and making sure that I'm looking at what he's sharing with me and letting him know that I'm excited with him, attuning with him, celebrating him with him, whatever it is. I have just decided that I'm going to be there for my son when he FaceTime messages me. So that's just one way that I've redeemed that in our relationship. But the 4 S's that Dr. Dan talks about is making sure that you are seen, soothed, safe, and secure. And so the first thing is if you see a baby, that you see them, that they're distressed, or a toddler that's in distress, that you see them. That's so important. And then soothe them, soothing the infant, soothing the toddler. A lot of times with toddlers, they are very frustrated. There's lots going on with their little brains and they can be very frustrated and angry. And while you may not agree with the emotion that they are expressing, you still can attune to them. It was something that blew my mind also, is that I don't have to agree with the emotion that the person is expressing. I just have to attune. And that's a really nuanced thing, to be able to attune to someone that you don't agree with, especially if the person was, quote, deserving. I'm making air quotes on YouTube. Deserving of whatever it is. They shouldn't be angry about it because they deserved it. You just need to attune to them even if you don't agree. So seeing, soothing, making the child feel safe. Safety is so important so that they don't feel fear. And then the security. And security, what they explained was that the child, the growing person feels a security to be able to make mistakes. That ability to make a decision without feeling like if you mess up and if you fail, if you fall on your face, think of a toddler or baby, think of a baby that's just learning to walk. If they fall on their face, they know if they cry, they're going to be seen, they're going to be soothed, they're going to be made feel safe. So it's this cyclical thing to really reinforce this secure attachment. And if you have not had that, then an unhealthy attachment style can get in the way of a lot. And that's not to give you hopeless despair, because there is hope. These things can be repaired. Ruptures can be repaired. And the beautiful thing is, just like a muscle under tension gets ruptured, right? And then it gets stronger, you actually can get stronger as a person. So number 1, if you've had kind of a not secure attachment, your sense of safety impact your risk taking. So again, if you didn't have that security to take a risk, then you may not feel the security to experiment. If you grew up with a secure attachment, you will likely feel freer to experiment. An insecure attachment may make you fear mistakes or criticism or judgment. And creativity thrives where risk feels safe. I don't know if any of you have had these thoughts of it's just paper. Sometimes when I was first starting, I definitely just felt like I had to make a Mona Lisa every time. I did not give myself permission to make a mistake or to make ugly art. That's the whole point. Just make ugly art. If you think it's ugly, just keep making it. And I know that's, again, because of the attachment, it can feel very, very personal and very unsafe. But really, if you just take a step back, become aware of what's going on, be aware of how you're thinking about the art, then just kind of loosen up a little bit and let yourself, parent yourself, and understand that, hey, this is just paper. This is just paint. There's plenty more of it, and it's okay. I'm going to be okay. I'm not going to die by ugly art. Try to give yourself permission to take risks. I think that'll be really helpful. Depending on your attachment style or what you have kind of leaned towards, your need for validation could shape your creative voice. So if you have an avoidant style, you may dismiss any sort of feedback, or the bigger one, I think, as an avoidant attachment is you could just not share your work at all. You just don't even want to make yourself vulnerable to any criticism or any feedback at all. So you just don't share it at all. If there's the anxious style, then you may crave people liking the art. So you struggle possibly with, is this good enough? Instead of just it being good enough for you, you would seek others' approval. So a secure attachment style, you're more likely to create from authenticity. You are doing this for you. This is your act of, as my friend Stephanie Lee today just said, self-love. This is self-love. This is loving me to make something for me. If you can sit down at your table in your studio and just see it as an act of love and not for anyone else, but for yourself. So for this one, I would say just, again, being aware, staying curious about the thoughts that you have around this topic of, this is only for me. This is something for me to enjoy. This is really not for anybody else. And going into your creative practice like that will help you if you have any sort of need for validation. Number 3, this is a big one, y'all. So I have been learning more and more about emotional resilience these last 2 years. And even my sister, glory to God, it's all Jesus, but she was commenting on how resilient I have been in the last couple months even. Your capacity to regulate emotions will affect your creative flow. So when you are sitting down to create a piece of art or to watercolor, whatever it is, if you start feeling anxious about it, or if you start feeling critical about it, when those emotions start overwhelming you, the creativity will just shut down. It just shuts down because you are feeling sensations in your body. I think it's really important that when you're experiencing emotion, even taking some time to feel where it is in your body. We have become so disembodied, I guess that would be the word, of separating our emotions from our body. We are a whole being. We have a mind, we have emotions, we have a body. And so it's really, really important to get those emotions to go through. So if you're sitting at your desk and you start getting critical, like you don't like something, don't shove the criticism or the judgment away. You can feel it, but let it go through and let it take its course and then return to joy. Our brains were wired for joy. When you have secure attachment as a baby, as an infant, as a child, the whole point of it is getting you to return to joy faster so that when you are distressed, you can return to joy. You're seen, soothed, saved, you're secure. You're returning to joy. When you have that secure attachment, and even like I said, if you feel like you are just like not secure at all, there's opportunities to repair these ruptures. And that's in community. That's in the Joy Revival community. We have a lot of ladies in there who are just loving on each other. It is so beautiful. But when you start beginning to get those ruptures repaired, you'll be better at calming and returning to your creative flow. Another thing that could be super helpful is just journaling about it. I'm a huge journaler. I think journaling and art are amazing tools of regulation if attachment wounds are present. And that's why art journaling, like combining both together, a lot of people do art journaling, are a really great tool. So even in the midst of a page, an art journal page, you can just start writing down those thoughts on the page, paint over it if you want to. But being able to be resilient like that, having that tool of resilience is going to be super helpful, because I can't tell you how many times I looked at the piece that's hanging behind me and I just wanted to like tear it to pieces. This happens to me too. I just step away, I calm down, and I come back, I rework it, or I just continue to work it, and it ends up being okay. Number 4, your willingness to play impacts innovation. And I see this so many times. I just said this to my members in the program, that I really believe that God is wanting to restore innocence to people and their creativity. If you look at a child painting, if you look at a child drawing, they do not care what you think. Oftentimes, they don't care. If they do care, something very wrong has happened. Children create without judgment, and attachment ruptures often can cut off play. So we need to be aware of these things: perfectionism, fear of wasting something. Those are signs that you might have a wounded attachment style. This is why I love abstract so much, is because I literally just approach the paper, and it's taken me a long time to get to a comfortable place where I just decide to play. It doesn't have to be anything. I am just having fun and I'm enjoying the process. And once you have that play again, that restores the joy of it. That's the whole reason we started it in the first place, right? And so a scribble to me, it gets out stuff for me, like as far as tensions, like I said, in my body, but it restores that play for me. And I really hope y'all can just allow yourselves to have fun and play again in your art. Perhaps your relationship with God as Father can influence your creative freedom. So if you didn't feel seen or soothed as a child, you may project that onto God. Whether you have a lack mindset or an abundance mindset, that can impact how you create. So a lot of times when you get these attachment wounds, they can create a scarcity mindset, like I don't have enough time, I don't have enough supplies, I don't have enough talent. Fill in the blank. Time was a big one for me. I had supplies. I was just hoarding my supplies, which again, probably went back to the scarcity mindset because I wasn't using them. If you want to get free from that, go look at Josie Lewis and how she uses so much paint. It's so freeing to watch her use so much paint. But it can show up as hoarding materials, being afraid to waste paper, or even not starting because you don't feel that you have enough gifting or resources or class experience or whatever to just play, going back to number 4. If you have secure attachment, there is always, in the Lord, there is abundance. And when you are securely attached to God, which that's a whole nother podcast that we could talk about, you trust that God will provide for you and that you're free to use what you have now. In that place of trust, creativity can flow with abundance instead of fear. And I think of the widow's oil. The prophet, he needed some bread. And so the widow is making bread and that oil just kept going. They used it as much as they used it, as much as they needed it, they had it. And the whole time of drought. And so I really feel like it's important to be aware if you have any sort of lack mentality, any sort of scarcity mindset, and in place of that, just use what you have. Think about this. I'm showing YouTube right now, this little $18 watercolor set. I'm going to use it. I'm going to use it over and over again. Not be scared about it running out, because the truth is, even if it did run out, I probably would have fun finding something different, Even if the paper did run out, I can go to the store and buy some more. And when you're a child of God, there's just promises that you have. And honestly, even if you aren't, in Matthew 5, it says that God sends rain to the just and unjust. So he actually provides for someone who's walking in righteousness and someone who's not. But as children of God, we should trust that the Lord has enough. We have more than enough. We have more than enough for us. And if you are feeling that you are struggling with attachment and that it is affecting your relationships, we're actually going to go into, in January of 2026, it's all going to be about relationships for that first quarter. Attachment to God. We're going to talk about our relationship to God. We're going to talk about our relationship to ourselves. We're going to explore the relationship with ourselves, because God's commandment says to love God with all your heart, soul, mind, strength, and to love others as yourself. So if you're not loving yourself, then you're not going to love others super well. And then in March, we're going to dig into loving others well. So we're going to be talking about this attachment a lot more in the coming year. And I'm really excited to share more of what I've learned. But hopefully that helped you, that your attachment style, just being aware of what you may be. You might be secure, or I liked one of the doctors said secure enough. Like secure seems like this out of reach thing that you can't get, this out of reach style, but secure enough, like 50 to 60% of the time, you have that nice balance of intimacy and independence. So that, or you can, maybe take a heart check, like maybe I have anxious, or maybe I have avoidant, or maybe it's disorganized. And once you know it, the first step towards healing is recognizing that there's a wound that needs to be healed. And I'll tell you what, God has really healed my attachment wounds, and he'll use people too to restore that to you. All right, y'all, that wraps up today's episode on the 5 ways your attachment style could be shaping your creativity. What I want you to remember is that none of this is about shame. It's about awareness. And if you're noticing that you're creating from fear, or that you're hesitating to play, or you're maybe craving validation, it's simply an invitation for healing and for freedom and for God to meet you in the middle of your story. I truly believe that creativity is one of the safest places to practice healing, because the stakes are really low and the joy is high. You can just try to scribble. You can start again tomorrow. Every time that you are creative, you're rewiring not only your brain, but your sense of security in the Lord. That's what we teach in the Joy Revival. So if this episode encouraged you, I'd love it if you'd hit subscribe so you won't miss what's coming next. And if you want to go deeper into faith and creativity alongside a community of women who are practicing this in real time, I'd love for you to check out the Joy Revival. Until next time, remember, you are safe, you are seen, you are loved, and your creativity is a gift worth offering. I'll see you soon. Thank you so much for being here with me on the Joy Revival podcast. I'd love for you to subscribe and share this with a friend who needs a little hope for today. And remember, joy is your inheritance, and it's yours to walk in every single day.